Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jacob, joined as always by Carver, coming off our first Bundesliga home game, looking a little better, getting a 3-0 win. Besides Dortmund, though, Carver, how you feeling, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I just saw Interstellar for the first time. Very
Oh,
random,
you did?
but that's been on the list for quite some time. And that was a fun watch. That's a true Hollywood experience, like the visuals, the tension, and emotion. It's a cool movie to see if you got like a nice screen for it or sound system, but very random. But I'm doing all right. How are you?
Yeah, that is random. You just on a what day is it? Is it on a Tuesday afternoon? Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah, Wednesday. We watched it last night. Yeah.
Okay. No, the movie's great. I saw it in theaters twice, and then I think watched it a couple times after that. But yeah, the movie's fantastic.
Yeah, fun watch.
Yeah. Besides that, I'm good. Yeah, maybe I need to watch. It has been a while, so I think maybe I'll watch Interstellar this weekend or something. We got an international break. What
Yeah.
else? Make it an Interstellar break.
Right,
Just,
right. We search far and wide across the galaxies and in through black holes just so we can get a number 6.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing pretty good. This is since you did hit us with something random, I'll hit us with something random. If I don't talk about my spontaneous random hobbies too much on the show, I did always used to try to slip in Australian football whenever I could. Which, if you're watching on YouTube, that's what this scarf on the end, the blue one behind me, is Australian Football Club. So I'll give them a quick shout. But random other hobby, I went out to a paintball field over the weekend and took photos. I didn't play any paintball. I used to play paintball back in the day, but I was like, it'd be fun to go take some photos. I got shot in the ass like pretty immediately, but I got
And
some
not
good
a
photos.
shot of your ass,
No,
just
no,
shot
no.
in the ass.
That would be something. You got hit by a paintball in the ass, but it was fun. I feel like I got some cool photos, and people were super receptive and excited that I was out there taking photos. So it was cool. Besides that, yeah, soccer, Dortmund. But of course, before we talked about it last week, the transfer window wasn't quite done. I did a little BVB bite-size episode, which I'd love to get some people's feedback on. It was just a quick little 10-minute recap to, I mean, I guess the transfer window wasn't even closed at that point, but there was some other Dortmund news. We had the Champions League draw, so did that little update. Again, it was like 9 to 10 minutes. If you like that format, let us know. We can try to do a few more of those throughout the season. Can't guarantee it's going to be a thing every single week, but if there's news, if there's some updates, if there's stuff to talk about that we can fit in between a full episode, I think I like that kind of content. I like the little bite-sized content. So if we can do more of that, if you liked it, let us know, because when I dropped that, the news was pending that looked like Fabio Silva was going to be signing for Dortmund. Windows closed, and that was, of course, confirmed. So we have Fabio Silva. We're going to talk about the transfer window as a whole. We'll break into that. Of course, we got the Union Berlin game to talk about. We got a quick BVB FRAUEN update, and we're going into the international break as well. But yeah, let's start with transfers. We did talk about Nmecha, Aaron Anselmino, who we're going to talk a lot about this episode. I'm guessing I'm really excited to talk about him. Fabio Silva, we gave our thoughts before he was signed. Carver, where are we at now that he is in the door?
Yeah, I'm still scratching my head a bit. I'm coming around to some understandings. Like, first and foremost, this gives Guirrassy a rest. He played almost 90 minutes of football almost every single game last season, and we had to constantly rely on him. Not only is the primary and really only pure number 9 on the team, but really one of the more consistent goal threats in this team too. So there was a lot of relying on him. So of course this takes a little bit of the weight off his shoulders. Fabio Silva is a mobile striker that can make runs off of him. He's pretty intelligent. He's picked up some form at his last loan spell at Las Palmas, but I'm still scratching my head a bit. The club didn't communicate any sort of injury before the transfer, and now we're looking at a few weeks, several weeks maybe, even before he's actually seeing the pitch. So spending 25 million on a striker that's primarily going to be a backup is just a bit bizarre. And and I think I mentioned this last week too, but when you look at the club that has had reports for 6 to 7 months now saying just how tight the budget is, but then you look at the revenue and income of Champions League qualification, Club World Cup, sale of Jamie Gittins. We're not even a calendar year away either from the Rheinmetall shit either. And that should have been, I mean, for God's sake, we sold our soul. We're not even seeing the money from that either. So there's a lot of income coming from this for this team. And then you look at some of these transfers, and I don't know, it just makes me scratch my head a bit. Either way, we got to back him now. I don't have anything against him personally or anything like that. I think he can definitely flourish, but
Yeah.
just when you look at his past and his several years in the Premier League, his loan spells, the price tag that came along with him, not just for this transfer, but in the past too. He has no control over that, obviously, but this is just a bit bizarre. And I also understand that everyone, including myself, is wanting another number 6. We're wanting more investment in the back line, but this might be a Kovac thing. Looking at his system, he likes the double pivots of the 8s. He likes them rotating a bit more. He likes the inside forwards too, the wingers that kind of cut in a little bit more. We have the likes of Adeyemi and Bayer. They fit that too. So this could very well be a little bit more of Kovac too, as well as Kale. I'm not sure exactly how much pull either of those people are having in this sort of move, but yeah, hopefully he can hit the ground running when he does come and get fit. Because when he have that price tag behind him, you should be expecting a lot whenever he is fit and ready to play.
Yeah, I think it is important to not, despite the the negativity, I guess, of the signing overall. It's important to he is our player now. We want to support and back him, and hopefully he can be a success here. I almost don't want to go into this signing as he's tainted, and I have anything against him. I'm trying to even break that mindset already. It's something I want to I want to make sure me personally am not already just putting him down or putting him out because of everything else. But I think I have changed my thought a little bit too on just signing a striker, because I think before looking at it, when we see the links to him specifically and a striker, and we're all just asking can we get a center back? Can we get a 6? Because it does seem like we've needed to strengthen in those areas for quite some time. And that's where we're a little more why do we need a striker? I think actually what I've been able to rationalize is I'm not too mad about signing another striker. I just also wish we would have still strengthened in other areas because,
right,
like you mentioned, it does give Guirrassy some rest and rotation. I think we got very lucky that he stayed healthy most of last season. If I'm not, was he healthy all season? I can't remember if he had any stint where he was out, but it does give Guirrassy some rest. We even saw that this match where he actually got a sub out towards the end, and this was even before Fabio Silva. But another thing we have to keep in mind is AFCON is this year, so we most likely will be losing Guirrassy for a few games with him out. So it is important to have a little more depth in that position. To now we have Guirrassy, Fabio Silva, Adeyemi, and Bayer to both play. And we saw that this week, and we saw Bayer and Guirrassy kind of both up top, with Bayer maybe a little bit deeper. But I'm not too mad about signing another striker. I think the hesitations, and with Fabio Silva specifically, is the price tag and the output you've seen from him on his other spells. And I guess the question is, if we're signing another backup striker, was there an option to sign someone a little cheaper? I get that could be difficult when you're looking in the striker market, have to find a real hidden gem. But I'm is there someone like Svensson? Is there someone from a different league where you can get them for a little less, especially again, as they are coming up as a backup? Because when you look at, you have Adeyemi and you have Bayer who can also play up there. Do you need to spend 24 million necessarily? But with all that said, I do, and looking at it now and thinking about AFCON and just giving Guirrassy rest, I'm not too mad about having another striker in. I also wish we would have got a 6 and maybe another center back. But yeah, I don't know, mixed bag, but I guess I can't be too mad. I hope it goes well for the money we spent.
Yeah, I don't have too much more to add outside of, like you said, it shouldn't be mutually exclusive for us to have more investment in other areas that have been a priority for quite some time now. And just to look at some of the numbers here, like we mentioned, of playing so much football for Guirrassy, he played 30 out of the 34 Bundesliga games last year. And then if you just look at the spring and just look at the midweek football, in addition to the Bundesliga, I mean, he played virtually every single game, every 4 days, all 90 minutes for 2 months straight minimum. So yes, it was a miracle that he didn't have more injuries given how much he played, not only at the weekend, every single week, but stressful big games for European week games too, just this past spring. So I understand the line of thinking there too, and that's easy to rationalize.
All right, let's talk about transfer window as a whole, and just I'll give a quick overview. We've talked about most of these guys, but the ins and outs, and I want a rating on the transfer window. So Fabio Silva, of course, we just talked about, brought in. If some of my numbers are wrong, I'm just going to apologize now. I'm going to give a rough number. Euros to dollars to pounds, I don't really know. So I'm just going to say Fabio Silva from Wolves, 24 million. Carne Chukwuemeka, apologize for butchering your name right there. I feel like I've gotten it right for the most part lately. 21 million from Chelsea. Aaron Anselmino on loan from Chelsea. Patrick Drews, maybe a little under the radar. 32-year-old goalkeeper, who I believe is just going to be our third goalkeeper for now. Got him for a little less than 300,000 from Bochum. And then Joe Bellingham, 32 million from Sunderland. Those are our ins. Do you want to?
Sorry, did you just mention Svensson too? Because we got him on a permanent.
Yeah,
he was obviously loan, and it's the same with Chukwuemeka too. Yeah, I mean, my mind's going to like a B, maybe B minus. There are some areas like we've been looking for a fullback for quite some time. I think Svensson is a fantastic find in a smaller market. Dortmund have lacked the self-confidence for quite some time now to enter the market for a player like that and get them for a very small amount of money and have such a big return as well. I mean, Svensson, I've said it before, he's like a Rearson, but just on the left. And I'm a big fan of his. I like the Job signing too, and we saw him slip a bit deeper in this game against Berlin as at number 6. The addition of Chukwuemeka I mentioned last week is going to help a lot with creativity. And Anselmino, for only playing 17 minutes of senior football since February, didn't look at a place whatsoever in this first competitive game. So there's some solid signings in here for sure. But I mean, and there's a lot of money invested too. But I think we've done better in the past with addressing these problems earlier in the summer. We're a bit more proactive. We're able to find talent on a much larger scale at a younger age. We're usually the ones playing poker with other clubs, and it seemed like it was kind of the other way around this summer. It's been like that for quite some time too. And I still think, I mean, not even thinking, there are departments in this team that are continuously neglected. So not perfect, not great, but still pretty solid with the signings we have. And I'll go B minus.
Yeah, I think B minus is fair. Like it feels in some ways still a little underwhelming, as you were mentioning, but at the same time, you kind of look at it as a whole. Like I mean, for the longest time, it was just Job, right? And then we got the last few right at the end, which kind of, when you look at it as a whole, fills it out pretty well. There's obviously, like, you're never going to have the perfect transfer window. So especially looking at transfer windows in the past, I'm like, this is okay. And thing is, I hope we, especially when you throw Svensson in there, like I mean, I personally forgot Svensson. I did mean to add him to the list, but I kind of forgot in the moment because we did get that done early. That was a good bit of business. So yeah, B minus is pretty fair. And then on the outs, so Gio Reyna to Gladbach for about 3.2 million. Our outs aren't that spicy, except Jamie Gittins. Sebastian Haller goes to Utrecht, where he was on loan second half of last year, so he goes for free. Diant Ramage, we signed him, I think it was last winter, but now he's out on loan to Heidenheim, who we are playing this weekend, so that'll be fun to watch. Marcel Lokta to Dusseldorf for free. Koulibaly to Strasbourg for 7.9 million. Jamie Gittins heads out to Chelsea for 68 million. Makoko to FC Copenhagen, 5.4 million. We got Copenhagen in the Champions League, so we'll have the Makoko derby. And then Kjell Vetchen out on loan to Bochum. And I think there were a few other kind of younger players or more fringe BVB2 players that we might have sent out, but I did not include those on the list.
It's kind of crazy just how many names you mentioned just now, that not all of them. There's some names in there that, like Vetchen, that we're going to be happy to have back here next year after his loan spell. But there's some other ones in there that either have big salaries or have been inevitably out the door for several years now. And a lot of them have left, and that can be a great step forward for the club. But then you look at the rest of the team and you're like, holy shit, there's still a lot of players left in that same pool. But it's a step in the right direction. We talked about a handful of these names before. Haller, I wish him nothing but the best. No one's going to know the insights of what he was able to produce at this sort of elite professional level anymore. And he obviously, when he first initially arrived, it was on a big salary. It was around 10 million a year for him, if I'm not mistaken. Gio's inevitably out the door for quite some time now too. So good on the club for getting rid of some, I don't want to use the term dead weight because it's not encompassing to all of the names you just mentioned, but there is some dead weight in there. But yeah, pretty solid overall for us getting some of those players out the door, big salaries out the door, some headaches out the door, but we still got some room to go.
Yeah, I think the list is longer than I expect because, I mean, there are some guys who we just haven't seen in a while, right? Like Koulibaly, like I've talked about him quite a bit, but we haven't seen him.
Yeah.
Lokta has been the BVB2 goalkeeper for a while. Haller, again, he's been out for a while. Gio just hasn't really been playing. So they're like, and I think there's some, like you said, there's some bigger names still on the team squad that we kind of expected made it to move on if it was possible to get their wages off. Like I said, Emre Can and
Nicolas Sula.
But
yeah, I would argue Ozcan as well.
Still work to do, but yeah, those are the outs. That's the transfer window is wrapped. And yeah, let's get into Union Berlin, which we might still talk about some squad depth and stuff as we get into this. But starting with the lineup, kicking off again, I mentioned it, but the first Bundesliga home match of the year. Incredible tifo at the beginning. Incredible scenes.
I was just about to say, before the lineup, can we talk about this jaw-dropping tifo? And a quick applause here to the unity and everyone in that community involved for such a amazing display for Borussia Dortmund, and just again that community in the North Rhine-Westphalia in general. I mean, there's a YouTube video showing some behind the scenes of the creation of it all. Highly recommend it. And it is just such a beautiful thing to see so many people come together. And we have some tifos here in St. Louis, but nothing compared to just the grand scale, not to mention the historical significance of what is put on display in such a dramatic fashion for Dortmund. I mean, and you look at the first part, and this was like two different parts too, right? Like it first came up in all gray. The Meisterschale was displayed in the center. Beneath was Adi Preisler's, which is Dortmund's all-time leading goal scorer, legendary line, all theory in life is gray. And then on cue, it turns into this beautiful green. And then Preisler spoke again. And another quote of what matters is what happens on the pitch. And then you see a Dortmund player kind of come up from the front there, and a beautiful looking display. And then above that, if someone didn't see that, it says it's Borussia Dortmund. And then you have the wall of the Sitztribüne of all these supporters above them with the flares and Vorheimer Westfalenstadion. I mean, just incredible things to see, not only for the tens of thousands there in attendance, but the millions across the world, really just showing an example of what true football culture looks like. And just so proud to be a part of it across the pond. Just wanted to mention we don't mention the unity and that community in general enough for just the tifos that Dortmund put on.
It was incredible. I mean, it's one of those things every time I just flip on, anytime we get the extended coverage on ESPN Plus, like you don't always get that, but with it being a little more of a highlight game,
it's a damn shame that you don't either. It's a damn shame.
But when you get to see the scenes at the Westfalenstadion, like that is like what really hooked me. It's like seeing the fans and the atmosphere, and yeah, it's just incredible. It was so cool. And I love that the message was like, what matters is on the pitch. I'm gonna get that wrong, but what a solid
you
statement.
Got it in essence, yeah.
And I appreciate the club for allowing that too, like it, like almost taking notice or like putting it on their shoulders too. Like, yeah, we understand, like it's been kind of shit, and what matters is on the pitch. And then for them to again after that to follow up with the performance that we had, and I know it's not quite there, but we got some movement with the ins and outs, which with what we just discussed. Like, yeah, let's do it this year. Like maybe not the best first week, but pretty solid second week. A good way to kick things off at home. So yeah, let's move on. And here's to a good season. And yeah, that's what we saw in this first match against Union Berlin.
Do you want to hit me with the lineup real quick before we get into the beginning of the game?
Yes. So of course, Gregor Kobel in goal. We discussed it last week with Mane getting a red card and being out. Is he going to get the start? And yes, Aaron Anselmino right into the lineup, starting in that right side of center back position. Then Anton in the middle and Benzabaini on the left side. We had Kuto at the right wing back with Sabitzer and Bellingham, and then Svensson left side of wing back, Brandt and Bayer kind of dual tins, and then Guirrassy up top.
It's the first time in a while that Pascal Gross has not started for this team. First time I think he has not started in general under Niko Kovac. Little fun fact for you. Take, I guess, fun as much as you want, but yeah, deserved win in the end of this game. Guirrassy with some really world class finishing and movement outside of the one-on-one that he did miss time and kind of mess up there. But great play from our number 9 and Guirrassy the rest of this game. Borussia Dortmund has won each of its 7 Bundesliga home games against Union Berlin so far. So it's a pretty recent meeting between the two clubs in all of their very long history, because Union Berlin has not been in the Bundesliga for not even a decade at this point. So no team has ever visited an opponent more often without dropping a point. So Dortmund has done a very good job at consistently asserting its dominance over the club like Berlin when we are at home. And this game was no different. Yeah, it deserved win in the.
Yeah, I want to talk about the bench this time around too, coming off the starting 11. Of course, Brandt gets to start this time. You mentioned Gross on the bench, but I know like that the bench was a point of discussion last week too, and the away at St. Pauli, and it's like you look to the bench, it's like, who do you have to bring on? Like, what kind of, again, surprising why we didn't see Bayer really in that match. But so yeah, who do you have to bring on this time around? We have Nmecha, we have Ryerson, we have Chukwuemeka, Adeyemi, Gross, like just those. For I remember seeing them warming up on the sidelines and thinking that looks a little bit better. Like even having Chukwuemeka added to the bench, it's like that looks a little better. Like it, you got a little more oomph on the bench this time. And then we still have Meyer, Ocean, and Campbell as well. So I think there's still like, yeah, you could maybe ask for a little bit more. Of course, Fabio Silva not available for this match as he just came in, but yeah, your thoughts on that and like the depth that we are building out a little bit more.
I don't have too much to add, honestly. Yeah, I'd share the exact same sentiment. I was happy to see Chukwuemeka also get an appearance later on at the end of this game. I was happy to see Bayer start. I really rate him, and I think this could be a breakout year for him. It was a great linked up play between him, Guirrassy, and Anselmino too. Between those three, it was a great team goal. We have some quality on the bench, and the likes of Pascal Gross too. With him not starting, you have someone that's a bit more calm, composed. They got the experience, the ball playing ability, the ball retention, if needed when you're further down in the game. He's also very versatile too. I mean, Gross has played almost like every position outside of center back in his career before, maybe even striker. But you have again some quality on the bench, some versatility, some creativity, and also some stability too against an opposition like Union Berlin. So yeah, I share the same sentiment.
I mean, the thing missing on the bench though is of course center backs. No center backs on the bench. You said maybe
Fair.
Gross plays that.
Yeah.
Maybe we have seen him at right back, so I mean, there's the possibility. You do see later on in the match Ryerson come on as that right-sided center back, which I guess is an option. And I know obviously we want some more, and it's horrible. Like everyone is injured, and Mane had the red card, but
yeah, 3 center backs are injured and 1 suspended.
But I do want to get into talking about Anselmino, but before I do, when everyone comes back and when everyone's healthy, it's like, okay, we have a little more depth here now. The problem is like, can these guys stay healthy? Because I even think fast forward to, let's say Schlotterbeck comes back into, once he's healthy and he's back in, Benzabaini's performance in this match I thought was extremely good too. And I know I've given him a lot of shit, maybe it was last season when he fell out a little bit, and or the year before. It's all kind of blurring together. And I just didn't rate him that much. And of course, we're playing slightly different formation. I do think he has been a solid left back for Gladbach. We just weren't able to see that as much due to injuries here at Dortmund. But him as a left-sided center back, amazing. And I think so much so that when Schlotterbeck comes in, I think the question is, is Schlotterbeck play that central role and Anton goes out to the right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think you drop Benzabaini. I know it's early, but at this point, I don't think you drop him. But
that's crossed my mind too. Yeah.
But let's talk Anselmino, because I don't think you drop him either. Because phenomenal debut, phenomenal.
Yeah, Mane's got to be pretty concerned, and Sule does too. I mean, I know it's a very small sample size, and I mentioned it before. Anselmino has played 17 minutes of senior football since February 16th. So no one was really expecting a 90-minute shift from him. Very small sample size, but a top performance. And if he could put that on even semi-consistently, I would be biting my nails if I were Niklas Zula, because he just put on a top performance. I mean, outside of his fitness for barely having any minutes under his belt, his tackles oozed with confidence. And even in very stressful situations, whenever he was left isolated, he slotted into the team seamlessly, completed 94% of his passes, 6 of them into the final third. One of those setting up a very beautiful team goal to score a second goal. Yeah, I can't rate him highly enough for that performance. And I got a few other things. Will you mention something?
I mean, just how good he is and how good he looked. I mean, 20-year-old Argentinian. We talked about him a little bit last episode again.
Yeah,
before.
Little to no English too.
That was one thing I wanted to bring up too. Like, for him, I'm curious how much English he knows as such a young player. And he was at Boca Juniors before, where I think he only played like 18 senior games, moves to Chelsea. I'm sure I know there was a lot more Spanish speakers at Chelsea, but then now coming to Germany, who in our team speaks Spanish? Like, who else speaks Spanish? If anyone?
I know, yeah, Couto speaks Portuguese. I imagine he's got some Spanish in him too. But yeah, I mean, even in his first day, the YouTube channel for Dortmund has, those first day arrivals and just them going through the media. Anselmino did not have much English in his arsenal there. And that's totally understandable, obviously. I'm not expecting him to be fluent in German or even English at this point, but that's obviously a big communication barrier in a sport that demands constant communication. However, there's also a whole other side to it where nonverbal communication is arguably just as essential too. And I think with this, the way he was able to assert himself and the chemistry between that Anton and Benzebaini has been forming these past few months too. Those three they didn't look out of place whatsoever with a 20-year-old Argentinian slotting in here. It was very impressive.
Yeah, and just quick on the language thing too. Like, for him to come to another new country with a few days of training where you probably don't know the language and be able to put on a performance like that is just, I feel like it's only going to get better, especially like from a young player to be able to step in this new environment and perform like that is amazing. So I think we were a little underwhelmed with the loan coming in, and that's just because I want us to build a little more. Like, is it a player who's going to be with us long term is kind of what I want and what I'm looking for. But if this is kind of center back we're going to have for this year, at least, like, it's going to be hard to not fall in love with this lone player, because I already, after this match, I freaking love him already. Like, so good. Such a good performance.
Yeah. There was a brief interview afterwards for the game, and they were asking Anselmino how nervous he was, and he responded, "I don't know if I was nervous, but I definitely was a little excited. I haven't played in a long time, and this is the opportunity I've been given, and it's truly incredible. The stadium is wonderful. The fans are incredible. So I'm very, very happy for the team's victory." And then after he came off at the 70th minute, I think it was, for cramps, they asked him, what did Niko Kovac say when you were substituted? And he said, he told me it went very, very well. I apologized for my calf cramps, and he told me not to worry. It was my first game, and I had done very well, which was very encouraging. So everyone seems to be on the very same page about this, which is, obvious, but it put in a great performance in just 70 minutes.
Yeah. All right. So looking at the first half, not too in depth, because honestly, watching this first half, I know we're just giving a lot of praise and a lot of hype, but this first 44 minutes until the goal, I was like bored out of my mind. I was like, oh no, this match sucks. I don't know how this is going to go.
Well, it was a difficult start to the game, and we're working on a lot of kinks with this system. And now it's a system where Kovac has had a window to mold things more into his liking. And one of the things I find a little worrying, and I know other people have mentioned this before too, we don't really have a 1v1 beater in this team outside of Couto anymore. And usually Duranville will come back, and hopefully he can provide a bit more of that. I mean, outside of that, you usually have more of those players that is not afraid to take others on, is ready and willing and able and hungry enough to engage in those 1v1s and those ISO situations. But in this game, it was really just Couto, and he has the freedom to do it as well, to showcase his abilities on the ball, which I don't think we saw a lot of last year. With all of the acclimation and integration that Couto had to go through, for the struggles that he had, for the new system, for the struggles that Dortmund had, there was a lot going on. But Couto looked really, really good this game. And just these last 2 weeks or so, he's looked a lot more comfortable in general. And I think a big part of that is him having the freedom to showcase that stuff. And that was able to get himself to set up another goal for Dortmund here too. Outside of that, yeah, Niko Kovac also mentioned at the end of the game, he said, we had a difficult start to the game. Berlin bridged the gap with a lot of our long balls. It's about moving the ball around much faster and having fewer contacts. And after about 20 minutes, things improved. Overall, we dominated the game and deserved to go home with 3 points. Then he went on to talk about how important Guirrassy is. But yeah, I mean, Kovac kind of touched on it here, but against St. Pauli, we were a bit, predictable. We were slow. We were a bit static. But you did see the ball start to circulate a bit quicker in this game as the game progressed, and Dortmund began to assert their dominance a bit more. But we have to start these games a little quicker, because when we start on the back foot, players with more confidence, with more quality, are going to continue pushing at us. And Dortmund these past few years have really ran into some big barriers to try to break down and just beat those teams.
Yeah. Do you think Couto's one-on-one abilities is what's getting him in the team right now? I know Ryerson had a little more fitness issues at the beginning, but like coming in the second match, like I thought Couto was amazing. Like and I know a lot of last season people were kind of upset at the money we spent on him. I don't know if that's fully validated yet, but I think it is a good reminder. Like I used to say this with Adeyemi all the time, and people probably still argue that maybe Adeyemi is not quite there yet. Sometimes he can be hit or miss, but it can take time to integrate. Like maybe, again, the language thing is another thing with him. Like he's Brazilian, was playing in La Liga at Man City, but always on loan at La Liga. And now he comes to Dortmund, so maybe it just takes that extra time to integrate. But he's looked really good, especially in this match. His one-on-one abilities is what, and Cross, which was on his left foot, playing on the right side.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that too. That's been in his arsenal too.
Mm-hmm.
If you look back in just the spring, yes, he's had plenty of moments where he's been kind of invisible or a bit wasteful, but crossing with his left foot has been something that I've noticed for quite some time now. I think it's going to become in very, very handy. If he's not able to do those overlapping wide runs, he can cut in, and he's still able to send in some great delivery with his left foot. And, that's only makes you more versatile and dangerous in the box too, for someone like Guirrassy, who can have great movement, who's dominant in his 1v1s, who's big in the air, and also clinical with the ball at his feet.
Yeah, I think he was great. And so I hope that can continue for him too. I felt a little like I love Ryerson so much to where I'm like, oh no, like I don't want Couto to be bad. I obviously want what's best for the team, but it does give you a different dynamic. He's a different type of player. And so that's exciting if he can keep this form up too. And then, like we said, like Ryerson he is that option to play on the left side. He is an option to play center, this 3-man center back if we need him to. So maybe that's why you kind of hold him back so you can slot him in where you need him to, if you need to. But yeah, Couto really great this game. And then Guirrassy getting on the end of it. The finish was great. Was there another goal? I feel like there was a goal called off, or at least like I know he had a couple missed chances that he probably should have put away, but he gets his 2 goals. Pretty clinical from him. Yeah, great performance from him. And he was it the second goal where Guirrassy sets it up, or they have the nice little 1-2 where he gets on the end of it. But yeah, great performance from him too.
Yeah, and the second half was pretty similar. Those first few minutes coming out, Berlin had a bit more momentum, and then Dortmund grew into it and asserted their dominance even more and put this game to bed. And Kovac, I think, did a good job of getting some subs into. I mentioned that to keep things fresh. And just in general, it was a reaction that we needed to see after St. Pauli. Kovac, and I mentioned this too, but Kovac said we needed to build on the stability and the momentum that we built on in the spring. We have to start things early. We have to settle in early and hit the ground running in this season, and not just stumble so much, because then you're going to struggle to build any sort of momentum. And after St. Pauli, it was a bit concerning, because there was a lot of the same things that we've seen for quite some time now. But this was a pretty reassuring that hopefully those kind of results are, I'm going to say, behind us. But I mean, swear to God, this is going to happen maybe 1 or 2 more times in the next 3 to 4 weeks. But hopefully we can minimize those games, because every point matters, of course. And, if you want to compete for the Meisterschale, if you even want to compete for top 3 at this point, you need to put games away whenever you are in winning positions. And Dortmund is a team where even whenever they are in winning positions, we tend to let teams back in. So you have to have that killer instinct. And this game was a good example of that. And Guirrassy mentioned at the end of the game too, saying, we had to react after the poor performance after St. Pauli. We did that and owed it to our fans. It was rehearsed. He talked about the 1-2 to make it 2-0. And we're working on things like that in training. And then he just talked about Kovac extending his contract and everything. And But overall, the players, they look happy and they were sure about themselves with the way you saw these goals come into fruition, that they were things that they worked on in training.
Anyone else stand out to you, like good or bad? Like I thought Nmecha, there was a time in this match, and I think maybe I was a little underwhelmed with Bellingham, and I think maybe it's because he was dropping back into this deeper role, which maybe isn't his strength. And there were moments in the match where I was like, I just feel like Nmecha was in here. I was kind of calling out for Nmecha, and then of course he subs on and gets his goal coming off that corner kick. But I thought Nmecha looked good when he came on for a few minutes too. But yeah, anyone else stand out to you?
I don't think Job looked too bad as the deeper player here. Sabitzer gets a little higher up the pitch. Job had a handful of accurate long balls, few recoveries. I think he filled that space well, and he mentioned whenever he talked to the media before the season started that he's capable of playing a few different roles in the spine of the team, whether it's the 6, the 8, even as a higher 8. Similar to Jude. Of course, Jude is maybe a bit more advanced in the field in terms of positioning, but yeah, I think Job did pretty solid, so I just wanted to shout him out there.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I got nothing else from this game. I also looking at, I guess, the first two games, I knew St. Pauli was a little obviously underwhelming, giving up those 2 goals and that red card. But one positive to take from both, I think scoring 6 goals in the first 2 matches isn't a bad thing with a few different goal scorers. Guirrassy, now three goals already to start the season. Brandt, of course, had a goal in St. Pauli. Anton and Nmecha gets one in this. So I know there was a couple seasons ago, I feel like one of the Terzic years, we just kept trudging along, like sneaking away with some 1-0s or some 1-1 draws. So it's nice that we're scoring, and it's nice that, as Kovac has mentioned, like keep the form up. And Guirrassy is just like, he's just no waiting. He's just all gas right at the start. So.
And I think it's a testament too of Kovac and the rest of the coaching staff of just instilling the self-confidence in some of these players. Like, yes, Guirrassy is clearly already an elite number 9, but you're seeing the confidence flow through a lot of these other players too. And I think that, shows in the results of the goals that we're scoring.
Yep. So Dortmund, of course, we're going into the international break, which is it's a terrible way to start the year. We get 2 Bundesliga matches and then we're on break. And I try to watch some international football here and there. I never watch as much as I think I'm going to do, but a lot of Dortmund players will be out, obviously. So catch some football if you can, or just enjoy the weekend to watch Interstellar. And then we'll be back Saturday, September 3rd. Early game, 9:30 a.m. Eastern kickoff away at Heidenheim. We mentioned it earlier, but our goalkeeper out on loan at Heidenheim is Deont Ramage. So hopefully we can, I want him to have a good performance, so we know we got a good product on our hands, but also want us to just bang some goals in. So hopefully they're not his fault when we score.
I got nothing to add to that. I do have a quick women's update here before we get out of here, which I mentioned last week that the VVB Frauen are playing against FC Köln's U21s, and they ended up losing 4-3. First loss in a league game for the Frauen since August of last year, and that was against FC Iserlohn, and that was a 3-1 loss in the division below, of course. They conceded the penalty in the 90th. They were in the winning position, and I think it was like a 2-0, and then Köln came back and then ended up actually winning a penalty in the 90th minute and then scoring that, which got them over the line against BVB Frauen, unfortunately. And just a quick quote here from the coach. He was just saying, "We were too confident. That's a mistake that we cannot make. And now we're awake. We've received a warning at the right time." And then and now we're looking ahead at Gladbach 2 on September 7th in the Regional Liga. BVB Frauen actually played Gladbach's first team a little while back in a cup game and won that one. So this is looking pretty promising for a bounce back. Coach Hogner of the BVB Frauen mentioned that second teams can be a bit more of a surprise at times with their quality and their pace and their youth. So the team will have to be ready. I think after the awakening and warning that they got here at this last weekend, they can bounce back. But just a quick update there that they're now only 2 games into the season. 1 win, 1 loss, but it's still got a long season ahead of us still, and I think we're going to be just fine still.
Yeah, I don't love that it's giving up a comeback and then losing, because it feels very
Dortmund-esque.
Very Dortmund, and I don't want that bleeding in here, but I do think I like the comments from the coach, and I like that. Okay, yeah. I mean, I think they have every right to be confident given the last few years that this club has had, and yeah, I think this will be a wake-up, and hopefully they'll just be able to push on. We said it before, it is getting more competitive, and that is also a good thing, and that's exciting. So we do have if you want to find out more about the BVB Frauen, the women's team, I think most of those games are streamed on BVB's Twitch channel, but
Yes.
we've got links to find out more about them in the description of this episode. That's also how you can get connected in our Discord and our socials and everything. Carver, you got something to add?
Sorry, I forgot to also add that the DFB Pokal draw was, and this is already we drew Bayern, the BVB Frauen drew Bayern, but now the date is set. It's going to be September 29th. So this month, in a few weeks' time, BVB Frauen will be playing the Pokal champions Bayern Munich, their first team in a cup game. That's going to be a massive, massive game, and very exciting, but also very nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Big test for them. Easily probably the big test they've faced in the entire existence in these few years of the women's team.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about BVB Frauen, like I said, check the description of this episode. Join our Discord if you haven't already. Haven't given it too much of a shout yet, but that way you can chat with, maybe meet some fellow Dortmund fans. If you were like me a few years ago and the only person you knew who was a Dortmund fan was Carver, then you're watching at home by yourself, you can meet some other Dortmund fans in our Discord. Yeah, get connected there, chat with them, not only on match day, but throughout the entire week. Find out a little more about the show there too. Yeah, that's it. I think that's it, except Carver, because I know we're wrapping up, but your quick thoughts, because when we did the Champions League draw, I did that BVB Bite Sides episode on my own, and I didn't even really give my thoughts. I just kind of explained the matches. So your thoughts on the draw and some of the opponents we got?
We got some tough ones here. I mean, at home to Inter, Villarreal, Bodo Glimt, sorry. Okay, Athletic Bilbao. Those are all pretty much going to be tough. I mean, I think that those are things that are all very achievable if we do win. And then it's the away matches I'm worried about. Yep. Man City, Juventus, Spurs, Copenhagen. All teams that I think are capable of getting a result against us, if not beating us. I think it's all going to depend on who's healthy and what kind of form we're in around that time. But yeah, I mean, I'm not expecting a big Champions League run anyway either. I mean, I'm hoping we can get a Pokal run and stay within the top four, so we're not just trying to scrap for any points here in the Rückrunde.
Yeah, I'm excited for it to start. I'm just excited for more Dortmund, and maybe it's. I mean, I'm excited in general all the time, but it doesn't help that I hate this weekend. I hate international break. I just hate it. Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys hanging out and listening as always. Let us know if you watch Interstellar this weekend or what you're doing to fill the void of Dortmund, and we will talk with you guys later. See ya.